مساء الخير وأهلا وسهلا في الجميع في حلقة جديدة من برنامج قضايا كندية. وزي ما عودناكم خلال هاي الفترة رح نقابل مرشحين عن الانتخابات البلدية. الليلة هاي الحلقة مسجلة بس عشان نكون عارفين، فاللي عنده أي سؤال أو أي شيء بيقدر يوجهه لإلنا أو للست ميساء اللي حنعرفكم عليها هلا بشوي، وممكن نجاوبكم عليها بعد شوي. المقابلة رح تكون حسب طلب ست ميساء باللغة الإنجليزية. لقائنا اليوم زي ما شفتوا مع المدام ميساء صالحية، مرشحة مستشارة الدائرة 7 عن مدينة ميسيساغا. ميساء, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much. متشكرة قوي هشام ان انت you're including me. I really appreciate it. I hope to be able to أكون في حسن ظنكم إن شاء الله.
Inshallah. So let's kick it off. Let's start it off
Sure.
with yourself. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself. It's also impressive that you're also a woman, coming. We don't have a lot of women in politics, even in Canada, and we don't have even less ethnic women. So tell us about yourself and how would you thought about it? Why are you running for this thing? And about your area for city council, but why are you running also in politics? Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved into this.
So like you said, yes, it's something that we don't have a lot of in terms of women running in politics, and especially ethnic women running in politics. I know when people see me and they hear me speak that they don't assume that I'm ethnic, that I come from an immigrant family who came to Canada. When I was 6 years old, I was born in Egypt, and when we came here, I did not know a word of English. And throughout my schooling and throughout my family's love and support, and my immediate family, my husband and my children as well, and my friends, I was able to really push forward for this particular role. Politics is something that we all, talk about in passing, but city politics in particular, being a counselor, working within the municipality, that really affects our day-to-day life.
Sure. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't understand what a city councilor does. I always tell them they're your first line of defense. So they are the people that represent your average citizen day to day on things that their practical needs within their own neighborhoods. And that's why a city councilor is so important, because they are your voice within the city, and then the city goes to the province and then to the federal government. So it works in that way. So that's something that I'm very proud of running for, and I hope to be able to help as many of Mississauga residents as possible, but specifically within Ward 7. The reason I went into this is the good old Canadian dream, right?
Yes.
So this was something that I was passionate about and I dreamt about, and it was just that. It was just a dream, and my father, God rest his soul, this was something that him and I used to dream of together. And he told me that, I really believe that you can do this. And my friends and family, immediate and extended, really did give me the proper support that I needed to fulfill this dream. And that's why I decided, you know what, I'm going for it. So before this, I was a manager at the Mississauga News and Brampton Guardian for one of the most successful sales teams in all of Metroland, and I love my team till this day. And hopefully they reciprocate that love. They do. And it's been something that I had to disengage from and continue on so that I can truly focus on my passion, which is going for city councilor.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know the area because I'm actually in Ward 7, which is
Oh, yay.
Cooksville. Yes. So I know this. There's a lot of there's I'm not going to say a lot, but there's like a considerable amount of Arabs slash Muslims also in this place. And do you feel that you have the support of those people in your constituents? I mean, in Ward 7.
I do. I do. I feel that I have a very good support, definitely from the Arabic community and the Muslim community, and from the community in general. Not
Yeah.
just the Arabs, not just Muslims, from Sikhs, Indians, Hindus, from people who are more Anglo-Saxon, Christians, Catholics. I've been welcomed by everybody, and I'm so blessed.
Mhm.
I can't thank my community enough for their support. I've been very, very lucky.
Well, that's good to hear. So, well, first of all, of course, we wish you luck, and we have your website going on the ticker if people want to know more about you. But let's now dig deep into people's concerns, and what do you think that as a counselor, as a future counselor, are you gonna solve these things? And I'm gonna start with something that also very important to me: transportation.
Yes.
And when it comes to traffic and the because I don't have a car. I use public transportation, and recently it's been really unreliable. And I thank God that I work in IT, and my time is flexible. So if I got delayed for a half an hour or something, it's okay for my work. But we know that a lot of people are, like, if they got delayed 5 minutes 3 times, they're kicked off their work. And those are the most people who are vulnerable people, and they cannot afford buying a car and all of that stuff. And we see, and I hear it from a lot of people, like the management of transportation and streets and all of the traffic is really not getting very good, specifically after COVID. So what do you think about that? How do you think you can tackle that?
So this is a very fair question, and I have heard it when I've been canvassing. Now, we know in order to have progress come along, there will be some growing pains in the process. And unfortunately, the growing pains that we're having right now is due to the LRT, all the construction that's happening around that. Also, a lot of the water mains that have been changed throughout the city have had a lot of construction around that, around the main arteries of our city. So yes, I do understand that this is happening. It is something that unfortunately is out of my control. It is something that has been already approved and pre-budgeted uh, for from existing council and existing governments. So it's not something that I can change. But whether you said a point that I want to touch upon with regards to people not being able to afford having a car and going to places. I believe that we should use public transit regardless. Whether we have a car, we don't have a car. Sometimes uh, some of the events that I go to, or different situations need me to go to, I have to go to Toronto. And during that time, I park at the GO and I take the GO train and I go in. Public transportation is something that is very useful, whether you have a car or not. And I do encourage it. And it's something that is, to make our economy better, we need to, and our environment better, we need to be able to put our cars aside.
Mhm.
So that's something that unfortunately I can't change, but it's something that I hope to speed along
Mhm.
during the process that's happening right now.
Yeah, because again, I'm sure you're hearing that it's like the work is really slow, and it was supposed to start like 2018 or something, or 19, but it was delayed and all of that stuff. And I know it's there's a lot of complication, but people are feeling frustrated. So let's hope that you can at least do something about speeding up the process so people
Yeah,
can
yeah,
breathe in.
and again, a lot of the things that are not coming. So in terms of construction, so because of the transportation, the issues that we were having before, and shipment issues from different countries of
Yeah,
materials. So unfortunately, that slowed the process even more.
yeah.
So it is on track. It is coming along now, but it won't be as fast as we want it to be, unfortunately.
So again, let's jump to the other to another, and we've all of these things that we talked about is something that we've heard from people and we saw on the internet. Is one of the other things that people are actually scared about right now is housing. Like
Yeah.
we know that about things like zoning for housing and all of that stuff, and most importantly affordable housing. Now there's a lot of people who are looking into an affordable house, and they can I just heard a couple of days ago that now the average of a small rent so more apartment rent is now 2000 in the GCA. That's the average, and we're talking about most of those buildings are old, so it's like an older rent,
Yeah.
and like 2000 out of your pocket just for rent, that doesn't sound really good. We didn't have a lot of raising salaries. The minimum wage was just raised like last year, and it doesn't
Mm.
even match the one that's I mean, like in the GTA, the like the affordable what do you say, like is to the livable wage is like 22. We have like 15 for the whole you know for the whole Ontario, and there's a lot of people who are talking about something like this, like affordable housing. Like now, if you want affordable housing in Mississauga, you have to put your name and you have to wait like around 12 to 15 years. That is, that's a very long time. So
It is a very long time.
so what do you have to say about how can we?
So, again, this is something that I'm feeling myself because I have two sons. One just graduated from university, and
Well, congratulations.
oh, thank you. And he's had to move back home in order to save up so that he can try and do something. And he's privileged enough to be able to stay at home without paying rent. And not everybody is. And that's something that's
Mm,
scary for our youth.
mm,
And I have another son who's in third year university. So he's,
oh,
on the cusp of graduating and also facing the same thing, and started to work early so that he can try to also save money so that he can start his own life. So I understand that these things are happening, and I'm feeling them myself for my own family.
mm,
And it's something that I definitely will focus on, because people, I have heard this when I have been going to the different condo buildings in the area and the different apartments in the area, that they are renting and they are outgrowing their space, and
mhm,
they've applied for housing within the government, and like you said, subsidized housing is taking so many years, and they're getting nowhere, and their family's just growing, and they're in like a two-bedroom apartment with like six people. It's difficult.
mhm.
and
Yeah.
and these and these things I want to be able to address, and I want to be able to really dive into and hopefully make better. I know that the city has come up with a plan to have more affordable housing come in. However, I believe those numbers need to increase.
Mhm,
It's not enough for the population that we have.
mhm. Well, again, on the affordable housing, this is one side is what we talked about is housing for the people with limited income, and it's for rent. But there are some people who have like a good income, and they should be able to buy a house. But
Yeah.
specifically from the generation, and we hear that new generations are not even being able to buy even a
No.
house. So
Yeah.
and the house prices I mean, like they say it dropped down, but even with the drop it's still super 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 expensive.
It's yeah, it's the prices are astronomically high.
Yeah. So what?
And it's they're saying that we're going to be heading into a bit of a
Recession.
recession, and that the prices will go down even further, and cash will be king again. You hear all these things, but we want to find solutions, not just hope for the best.
Mhm.
Hope is great, but hope is not a plan.
Yeah, exactly. And when you said recession, because recession is not just about uh, you know housing price or house prices go down. There's a lost jobs are going to be lost, and
Yeah.
there's an economy that, I mean, like, people in recession, they won't be even afford to buy houses or rent them, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, again, hope is not a plan, and it's not something we want to see. We don't want to see a recession within our economy. We want more jobs. We want to create better availability and better job opportunities for people within Mississauga. We want to attract more businesses so that they come here and we can jumpstart our economy to a better level than it's at right now. And
mhm.
that's one of the things that I would like to do, coming from a business background, and having, like I said, I was the sales manager for the Mississauga News and Brampton Guardian, having dealt with so many businesses, whether it's corporations or dealing with mom and pop type businesses. I understand the concept of being able to grow our economy that way. So that's
Mhm.
something that I'd like to focus on, so that people have more money to be able to afford better places to live.
Because we're kind of here now, like a lot of voices are saying, like, prevents wide, like minimum wage is not going to work anymore, right?
Mm.
Because if you live in Sudbury, you know it's the minimum wage there is different than the minimum wage in the GTA, or the affordable wages, let's say, the
Mhm.
livable wage.
Mhm.
But when you put it all, and it's Ontario is a very, very huge province, and we have north
Yes.
and south, and there's a lot of places, small and big. So when you put
Yeah.
something for everybody, that doesn't make it fair, to be honest. And there's a lot of calls that every city should start having their own minimum wage, or at least area, like the Peel region, for example, have a standard minimum wage that's different from Toronto, or different from, let's say Sudbury, or anything like that, right? Are you agreeing with this, so that it would make life more affordable, not just housing? I mean, like, do you agree with that idea?
That ideology is all well and good, in terms of, uh, again, it's ideology. It's something that ideally would be great,
Mhm.
uh, but it's something that will take a lot of work and a lot of research in order to
Yeah, of
implement.
course.
But it's, as an idea, it sounds good. However, it would
Of
be very, very difficult to implement.
Well, of course. I mean, like, there's nothing is easy, but I just wanted to hear you, because
Yeah.
I'm seeing also the millennials and the new generations on TikTok and all of that stuff are saying, like, why don't we do it there are other countries that are doing, like, minimum wage per region or per city or something, so why don't
Right.
we do that? So I'm just putting that concerns into you, but
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
know we
No,
know that's not going to change tomorrow, you know.
no, and that's one of the things, is that, when people do hear these things, I want them to be able to understand the reality of it. I don't want them to again, I want people, I'm very honest, I'm very straightforward, as much as I can be, even within my own life. So it's something that, as someone who's in the public eye, sometimes you have to be a little bit private, but you can't be. So I try to be as honest and open as possible, but I want to be upfront with people. I don't want
Yeah,
them to
sure.
assume that this is going to happen tomorrow.
Exactly. I mean, and I'm sure that a lot of people, after all this distrust that is happening, specifically within COVID, I think they need honest politicians. So I appreciate your honesty on this. So let's talk about another thing that also I'm sure you've heard from your constituents, is the environment,
Yeah.
specifically from the new generation, or who are going to face a very tough time when it comes to environment, and with the wars that's happening in Russia and Ukraine, and a lot of countries are getting back to coal and all of that. I mean, like, are we stepping back, and is our need to energy right now trumps our need to live or not to go extinct? So how do you like to address the environmental problems?
God, this is so huge.
I know. I mean, I would appreciate that,
no.
at least if you at least tell us, do you have like a plan or ideas about this?
One of the main things that we talked about, of course, to help the environment is public transportation, right? So that's something that I encourage people to do. Be more green within your own home. I was actually recently asked this question by a constituent who was trying to decide whether they want to vote for me or not. And one of the things that I also told them is community cleanups. So not just cleaning your own yard, that's all well and good, but having community cleanups is also very important. Keeping your spaces clean so we have less garbage, so we are living a better lifestyle. So we talked about transportation, we talked about communities. I'm involved personally with some community cleanups, and I would like to make this one of the things that we do all together in Ward 7. We'll have community cleaning days, and it'll be a fun engagement opportunity as well, for the community to be more neighborly and get to know each other a little better, because stronger communities make better places to live. Safer places to live.
Of course, and I would love to get involved. I mean, it's the same word, so let me know when you do something like that. If it's on weekends, of course, when I'm not working.
Yes, of course.
But you all,
So those are two things that we can do. Obviously, planting trees is really, really also important. We'd like to have more trees planted. There are certain programs that the city does, which include, if you want to remove a tree that is beyond the city limit that you are allowed within your own property, that you have to pay for the replanting of the same tree. So that is something that is important, but also we want to plant more trees altogether. So I'd be working with different people, different opportunities, different organizations and companies, so that we can try to do that and have more green spaces here for a better environment.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a lot of people, because the projects that they do on the lakeshore, where they're removing like a park or parts of the park to do a building, and I'm saying, like, all of those trees are gonna go. Like, this is not good. Let's just sit on that, and I hope that you can do something also about like de-greening that we're seeing. That let's say that because there's a lot of places, or we're losing a lot of places for construction, and I think we need more green, as you just said.
And that's one of the things also, when new buildings come up, I would like to have them as complete livable working spaces. So I would like, ideally, again, if and when I am elected, to any new buildings that are going up, I would like to have green spaces around them. I would ideally like to have storefronts at the bottom, and then the building on top. So it's a complete livable working space, not just a concrete slab that goes up with nothing else.
Yeah. So another thing that everybody's talking about is taxes. We're talking about also city taxes now, with all the difficulties that people are having, specifically after COVID, the people who lost their jobs and all of that stuff. They're always their one of their biggest nightmares is getting the taxes up, specifically if we're going into a recession. What would you say about that? Is there a plan to tackle the city budgets without raising taxes?
So I'm not going to be dishonest. I'm going to be straightforward with you on that. City taxes are important for the infrastructure of the projects that we do to make our city better. So I feel the pain myself.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. So I am one of the people that face this with you, and it's not something that even as a city official that you get away from. You pay the same taxes as everybody else. So if it's going up on you, it's going up on me. And that's one of the things that I talk about, is that because I am someone who lives from within the ward itself, that's what makes me work that much harder for people, because what affects your families affects my family as well.
Yeah.
So in terms of the taxes not going up, I don't believe that's something that's really feasible. However, I do have an idea, which is to hopefully freeze taxes for seniors.
Mhm.
Our seniors don't have a large income.
Yeah.
Um, and what they do have is very precious. My mother is a senior within Mississauga, and again,
Mhm.
like I said, what affects my family affects yours. And I know that her income is very, very limited. And it's hard for our seniors to make ends meet.
Mhm.
They don't have that steady, paycheck coming in as we do. So it's something that I would like to do in order to hopefully help out uh, within the tax bracket.
Because you spoke about something else, about freezing, because I hear something else also from specifically the younger generation, is that why don't we just do, at least on the city level, like we fix our taxing system to be like a wealth, more of a wealth tax, not just an income tax, because a lot of wealthy people, they don't have that income, but they have a lot of wealth, right? And they pay almost like, or even sometimes less than the people who work and do way more less than them, because when it comes to income, it shows that these people income are higher than those other, but the wealth bracket is like it's a huge gap. So are you going to consider like at least different, or to study different brackets for different, because you just said that you're going to freeze it for seniors, which is kind of,
Well, it's not something I'm going to do. It's something
I mean,
that
like
I
you're
hope.
going,
Yes, I hope
to
I
at
do.
least to
Yeah, I
propose,
hope I
yeah,
do.
right.
Yeah.
So are you would you think that you're gonna also propose like doing something about brackets, so the wealthier will pay a much fairer tax for themselves?
Again, being honest with you, it's not something that just comes up. It's not something that you can just, snap your fingers and make it happen.
Yeah,
But it is something that definitely can be considered in terms of corporations, in terms of different people within our area that uh, like you said, are in a different income bracket than others. It's
yeah.
something to be considered, but we cannot just make things happen like magic. So again, just being transparent.
Yeah, I mean, like when we say like what do you plan on, is not that's
Mhm.
something that we wait
Yeah.
for, but at least working towards it, because uh, the important thing to know for people is that the politician that they elected is working towards that, even if it takes time. We know that politics is always slow,
Yeah.
but at least and I appreciate your honesty as well. And but considering these things, is, I believe, when people hear it that you're considering that stuff, I mean, I think they will appreciate that, and probably gonna take in consideration that there's someone that we need to vote for, because they're working towards our benefits, and our to making this Ward 7 and Mississauga as a whole is a better place to live in. So
I hope so.
yeah, so let's all hope so, because you see now Alberta is having a lot of those advertisements. Alberta's calling, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
so
yeah, I am. I'm seeing and I'm hearing, and It's actually, again, like I said, what affects your families affects mine. And my one of my son's good friends had just experienced something along those lines, and they moved to Alberta as a family, and
Yeah.
it happens, and I don't want to see that, because what ended up happening is we lost this great family from here,
Yeah.
from Ontario. And my son lost, well, not lost, but has now a greater distance with this friend. So obviously he's not happy about that. So things like this do happen, and I truly do want to make this a better place for us to live. I want to be able to keep our great families here and have them feel safe and welcomed.
Yeah. Well, again, again, as you said, probably we didn't lose those people, but losing the connection, that close, that community connection is something that we don't
Yeah.
want, and we also don't want to lose their skills.
No,
Like
no, this was a bright young man, and it's someone that was in my home all the time. So it's something that I don't want to see happen. I don't want to see happen again. I want to make this a great place for him to live, so their family can move back here.
so we can bring people from Alberta to here.
Yep.
As you said that you have an experience in business, right, yourself.
Yeah.
So as someone with this kind of experience, we see that a lot of people, specifically from smaller businesses, which is actually the spine of the Canadian economy, because
Yeah.
most of the big businesses are something from outside, particularly American.
Hmm.
But the backbone and the spine of our economy is small businesses. And a lot of people, specifically after what happened in COVID and now the whole thing about recession and all that stuff, who are talented to start a new business, are hesitating, or even when they start a new business, they're not, you know they're hesitant to improve or even invest into their new businesses because they're afraid of it. So what do you say to those people? How can we improve the opportunities for new businesses, and specifically for small and medium businesses, local Canadian, specifically Mississauga, Ward 7, if you want to say new and local businesses?
So, starting a new business is always scary, regardless of whether you have the capital, you don't have the capital, you have an experience, you don't have the experience. Starting something new is always something that people tend to be very careful about, and I understand that absolutely. Within, like you said, small businesses are the backbone of our city, of Ward 7. We have a lot of small businesses within Ward 7, small to medium sized businesses. We have less, I think, big conglomerate corporations than other areas, which are also needed for the economy. And I appreciate them being here and choosing us to choosing Mississauga to do their business. It's something that is also needed for our economy. Um, so that is not to say, they're the bad guy, and all small businesses, but I do try to support local businesses as much as possible. Everything that from where I buy my food, if I can do it through a local market, I will. If all of my election stuff, if I can do it through someone who is local, I do. And even just my day-to-day needs, I try to buy locally as opposed to going to um, other places. Obviously, like I said, we do need those other places. So with the small businesses, with people who are starting new, I always say make sure that you do your research. That is really, really important. And a lot of the new generation, as you mentioned, coming up with all these wonderful ideas and having all these great things that they want to be able to put into the economy. A lot of them start off online,
Mm,
and I'm
yeah.
not I'm not ignorant to that. A lot of businesses start off online and they don't move into the brick and mortar until, um, they feel that they are established enough to have that space. With online shipping and everything being readily available online, it's a reality of what we face today. Um, and it didn't used to be that way because the mindset has shifted from the older generation to the new generation. Before, we started a store, and if we had enough customers, we would ship out. Now it's
Yeah,
the other way around.
yeah, yeah,
Right, so that's just a reality of the mentality of the up and coming new business owners, uh, whether it's online through Facebook or through a website that they're starting. um, so these are the things that unfortunately we're facing, but always do your research. And in terms of and be fiscally responsible. That's so important for a business. Don't outgrow yourself.
yeah, of course. Do I understand that you have something to, or a plan to propose something to support new and local businesses?
I did work with the BIA, Cooksville
Hmm.
BIA within Ward 7. I volunteered my time prior to running for council, because that is something that I believe in. I
Hmm.
was helping them with their marketing strategy so that and I completely volunteered my time and my efforts so that I can be able to help small and to medium-sized local businesses get the attention that they need. And we were very, very successful. So I will continue to work with the BIA and be able to walk down the
Yes.
streets and hear from local businesses what their needs are, and communicate with the BIA directly so that we can have a better future for those businesses.
Okay, so let's talk to all Canadians. If you have a business idea, come to Mississauga, Ward 7, right?
Yeah, Ward 7.
Yeah, come to, as I said, come to Mississauga, Ward 7 here, and because I live in the same ward, and I see a lot of, as you said, a lot of local and even ethnic, small to medium
Yes,
Canadian businesses into this area, and it's good to see
especially
that.
the Four Corners.
Yeah, and it's good to see that a lot of them survived COVID. After all
Thank
of
God.
that,
Yes.
while some big businesses actually left the area, but a lot of them survived, and I think it's important to tell them that somebody is going to work towards that they would keep their business and flourish more even in the upcoming years. So
Yeah.
speaking of flourishing, um, and now we're going to talk about citywide, because poverty is increasing, and it's probably says nobody's fault, or like COVID has done a lot of damage. And I remember when I came to the city, and I still remember that I came to Mississauga. I was living in Scarborough, but I came to Mississauga on October 2015. And to my shock, because I used to live in Toronto, and you see homeless or people houseless, let's say, just much
Yeah.
better,
Yeah.
houseless people
Yeah.
too much in Toronto, which is a very sad fact. When I
Yeah.
came in, I was shocked to see almost no one in Mississauga. But now, I mean, everywhere you go, you find someone who's telling you, who's having this sign and say that they don't have a house, or they can barely afford that. And looking at the polls a couple of months ago, 50% of Canadians all across Canada think that they're not sure that they can afford putting food on the table every day anymore, or every meal.
Yeah.
And that's scary. That is so scary. I mean, to see it also in my city, it's so scary. And I know that there are some cities in Canada have actually, which are even poorer or smaller, have solved the problems of houselessness, let's say. uh,
Mhm.
And how are you gonna plan on proposing something, or at least looking into the issue about poverty and houselessness, all of that? I mean, like, because I don't like to see the city that I came in and it was a prosperous city to go down like this.
Yeah. So it's something that I'm actually I've been working with and actually volunteering at a few different community organizations, specifically within the Cooksville area in Ward 7, with regards to that specific issue, and addressing the needs of these wonderful people who happen to find themselves in a tough situation due to life circumstances. So it's one, we do a lot of community activities, which I try to attend as much as possible, that involve music and dancing and giving them their sense of self worth again, and getting them, even if it's just for a day or two, out of that slump of feeling hopeless, feeling down, So there's usually free food. There's usually, some sort of fun activity for them to do. And it's all free to attend and participate. And anybody from the community can come. But that's specifically, these events are specifically done in the heart of Cooksville by these wonderful communities, so that they can continue to address this issue. So one of the things is, as we mentioned, having these community events is wonderful, but these places are almost like a safe haven for someone with homelessness to go and to be able to seek help, and like Heart Commons, that's a big one within our Cooksville area. Wonderful group of people, and they try their best. But also, we need to address this issue as a whole, and it's again some of it is due to the fact that we need our economy to get back to where it needs to be. These people are facing tough times and tough situations because they don't have the jobs or the job skills that they once had for the job for jobs that are no longer available. So that's one of the things that I'd like to focus on, is to give them the skills they need, give them the space they need, and the mental and emotional capacity to be able to deal with these things again.
I mean, like it's like to help them get back on their feet again.
Yes.
So last thing that I want to talk about is something that also in the mind of a lot of people, specifically the young people, is Indigenous people welfare. We know that there's a lot of things that happen, and as new immigrants, I hear a lot of people saying, when I speak to them about going and supporting the Indigenous communities, they're like, yeah, I'm just a new immigrant. I don't have anything to do with it. I wasn't here when this happened. I was like, yeah, even the newer generations of European immigrants have nothing to do with it. But not being part of the problem does not, absolve us from not being a part of the solution. We are all here right now on their land, on their ancestors' land, and I knew a lot of them, and they have this wonderful beliefs that the land is for everybody. They don't mind, but if you want to come to the land, just come peacefully, come help us, and just be a good person. And we see a lot of new generation are waking up to that, and I think it's very important. The Indigenous communities also helps. I mean, I think they have a lot of knowledge also about the environment and about the cleaner environment and all of that stuff, but we're not getting them involved into a lot of that. We just get them involved sometimes after the fact that we take the decisions. So what are we planning? I mean, the history of Mississauga is called over the tribes that lived in the Mississaugas of the credit, right? So it's like we live in we literally live and in the city that's called after them. So what is your plan on reconciliation and getting making their welfare and life better?
So, one of the things that I'd like to say to everyone that's listening today, we are all immigrants of Canada.
Exactly.
Whether
Unless you're an indigenous.
Yeah, unless you're an indigenous, we are all immigrants to Canada. And as you and I are both come from Arabic countries from the Middle East, we know what it's like to be an immigrant in this country. So to say and to have some of these things be given to us by this wonderful country. So to say it is not our problem, I just came here. I didn't create any of this. Like you said, that is not the right attitude. Um, Canada was welcoming to us. We need to be welcoming to finding solutions, to understand the situation that happened, first of all. So know the facts of what happened to the indigenous unfortunate situations that happened to the indigenous people, and be a part of the solution. That is our role. That is our job as human beings.
Exactly.
So I would like to definitely work with the indigenous community and give them their respect. Again, as someone who has um, been so fortunate to come to this wonderful place that we call home today.
Yeah. So I hope that you win. Let's
Thank
say you said you before in the interview said win, and if I win, I would say let's stick with win. I let's keep positive, and I hope you will be able to to do all the wonderful stuff that you're intending to do. We have just a couple of minutes, but I'm gonna leave these minutes for you to tell a message to your constituents or to everybody who's listening to you right now in Canada.
Thank you. Thank you. So, what I'd like to say is, first of all, please take the time to go out and vote. We still have time today. Today is Sunday. For early voting, you have till 5 p.m. today in order to go and vote. It is a right and a privilege that we have within this country to have our voices truly heard. And that's one of the things that I always say. Mesa is listening. So let your voices be heard, guys. Not just physically tell me one-on-one that you're unhappy with the situation and that you want it to be changed. Be a part of that change by going out and speaking your mind. And the way you can do that is through the voting polling stations. You go and you make it only takes a few minutes to go out and make this wonderful right of ours come true.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Thank you for being here. And we always talk about the importance of voting for anything, but because people do not, as you said earlier, do not know much about city council and the importance. And we always say city councils take care of like more than 60% of your day-to-day services. So that is important for you to vote for the right representative. So go again, I will say that, go and vote, and go vote for the right person. And we hope that you will be the right person for Ward 7.
I hope so too.
Yeah, so thank you very much again, Madam Maisa Salhia from Ward 7, Mississauga City Council. And ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week in another episode and another, Canadian topic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.